chimney.
No, dear.
No.
Fuck all. Fuck all, dear.
Sorry, I was late. I was having a cheeky, filthy fag.
Yes.
Well,
And using our
win-win.
hoo-ha as an ashtray, unfortunately.
Oh, shush.
I
Hello,
know.
how lovely
that's-
to see you again.
Thank you, darling.
How are you?
I'm good. All the better for being here.
Hey.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very,
Darling,
very
is
much.
any of this visual? Because I might need to change my earrings.
No. None of it's visual. None of it's visual. No.
This lady
She's
over
always ready.
here. This lady over here won't allow any visuals. She doesn't
I just
to
don't
be
think we need
photographed.
it. And also, as well, I think a podcast is used by a lot of people on long journeys.
Yes.
So they can't really be looking at a visual while they're
So
driving.
true.
Yes,
So
thank
true.
you. Thank you. So how do we find you today? Do we find you well? Are you fair to middling?
Yes, darling. It's all good. Yeah, all good.
Good.
Always.
And
Make a choice.
whereabouts in the world are you at the moment?
She's North London, dear.
Nice.
All right. Okay. Yes. I know she always been a North London girl because she was born in Hampstead.
Well, she was, dear.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for checking that out.
That's okay. I did Google her.
A little bit
Bless you.
stalky.
I know. I've got security. Don't worry. I was born in North London, but because, I don't know if you know, but my mother wrote a book called The Leather Boys, which is a gay classic early in the 1960s, when it's still illegal to be gay, about working class biker boys who fell in love.
Mm-hmm.
She wrote that novel. That was then made into a movie. It was a kitchen sink drama with Rita Tushingham and Dudley Sutton. And that started, I came home from my North London state school, and she said, "Oh, darling, we're going to LA next week." I said, "Okay." I was 8. And the next minute I was in Beverly Hills and
90210.
like an ice cream machine in the school. You know how normal schools just boil everything till they're kind of grey. And suddenly we had pizza and chocolate milk. And I grew up with my sister, Matilda, playing on the backlots as my mum wrote movies for 20 years.
Oh,
Although
wow.
we to Frodo all the time. That's what she did. She had a voice for people. She also wrote the movie, which didn't honour it enough, actually, called I Want What I Want, which was was the first transgender novel at the time. She wrote the movie, which didn't actually, brilliant script, but it didn't quite manifest as it should have done. But she had a voice for people who at that time had no voice.
Do you think if that script was brought to someone today, then there'd be greater, impetus behind it and moving it forward as a project?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think absolutely, because it's normal and it's current and it should be. And I grew up in a world, my father was an actor and then a dance critic. My mother was a writer, as I said. I grew up in a world and the arts, which is where everyone is accepted. Doesn't matter what religion you are, doesn't matter what gender you are, doesn't matter, what, ethnicity you have, you are accepted. Yes, there are arseholes everywhere in the world.
Yeah, of course.
But as a culture, it's one of being together, there for each other. And I didn't realise there was homophobia, anti-Semitism, racism, misogyny until I went to school.
Yeah.
Because everything was normal for me.
Although fascinating, you're saying that as well, but there is that sort of in the arts, there's the competitive element, and sort of people pitted against each other.
Oh, like I said, there are arseholes everywhere, and also, but that goes through every culture,
Yes.
whether it's banking or it doesn't matter where you work, you are competitive because you want to
Absolutely, but
feel valid in this world.
I absolutely fell in love with you and with Debbie Arnold and all of you beautiful women that came to the show that night to see Pi. How supportive and fabulous you were to me. That was kind of quite an experience to have other women be so encompassing and supportive and build. It was great, absolutely. It was fabulous.
I find that moving and fascinating and also interesting to hear, because what's the point of not being supportive?
Yeah.
What are we here for? And actually, can I swear?
Yes.
Yeah, you were fucking brilliant. So what the fuck? Of course we're going to be supportive. You were brilliant. So of course, we're going to say how wonderful it was. It was an absolute joy to watch you. You are so fucking funny.
Oh, I'm going to put that on my poster, Harriet.
Well, I think you should, but she'll want some money for it. So if you could just
Darling,
do that.
I will be invoicing. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So how old were you when you left school in Los Angeles and to come back to the United Kingdom, to come back to London?
Well, we were there for 2 years, and it was at the end of the 60s, flower power, kind of crazy. And my friend who was sitting in front of me in my math class suddenly slumped over her desk when I was about 11 because she'd been to her mother's medicine cabinet and just taken some sleep pills, not because of anything. She just it was a thing. It was kind of a cool thing to do. So my parents at that point thought, actually, we're going to base ourselves back in London, but we're going to come out for, my mum wrote movies for 20 years. So we went out every year for 20 years, but we did only 2 years there because, again, it was a wonderful, liberating, fantastic time. But also there was a vulnerability, as there is now always with drugs and things. You have to be mindful for your kids. So anyway, we came back. I then went to the Royal Ballet School because I wanted to be a ballerina till my tits grew, darling. They were never going to get into a tutu.
No strapping.
No, not without ropes and pulleys and a holiday. So I did that for a couple of years. And then I went to drama school. And as I ran up those steps, having a body that was just, I thought was wrong, I suddenly felt I'd arrived home because I could be who I was. Mm-hmm. And again, there's so much endless judgment about how we look, again, age. I'm 64, about to be 65. Seriously, it's offensive. But, I've got free travel, though. I do love it. But I am devastated when I don't get a seat and devastated when I do. So it's losing.
No-win situation.
Seriously. But, it's about we have a voice and we can be who we are. And just going to drama school, again, was my first experience of just being allowed to be me, whoever the hell that was, because you don't know who you are really when you're young. But as a woman of 50, I was told to, go on a saga cruise or get a free pen and sort out your will by Michael Parkinson. And that's how we're treated.
Of course.
So it's important to have a voice.
Yeah, there was a big scandal about the Michael Parkinson thing was because you were promised a Marks and Spencer's voucher and no one ever got them.
Oh, really?
I'm not even sure people got the free pens, in all honesty.
Darling, no. Well, I didn't take it up anyway.
No, I think that's very wise because there's someone else who's picked up the mantle and it's something about parsnips and the neighbour makes parsnip jam and you just think, oh, do you know something? Get in the ground, the pair of you, you're so bloody boring.
Thank you.
Why can't people just live? And
hello, thank you.
Why do you think it is the case that as a society, we've discussed this with other people, but age always seems to be, you look good for your age or they're this age or when they're reported, why? Who cares?
I know, and you're absolutely right. And I think if you understand you have a choice, you have freedom. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the time, we don't. So we think, somebody said to me, have you got grandchildren yet? And I said, no, I haven't. They went, oh. And I thought, naff off. I don't have to be validated by grandchildren. Yes, I'd love them. I wish my children would get on with their lives and do something for me. Yeah. But they didn't. They haven't yet. So, whatever. But it doesn't, yes, it's extraordinary. Culturally, that is I think it's in every culture. You are judged. I think it's probably human nature, but it sucks and it's ridiculous because. But
also the fact that the longer we're around and the more experiences we have and the things that we get up to, that the idea that the older we get, that people just go, oh, stupid old woman, shut up, old woman. You're like, I know, wait, I've forgotten more than you bloody know, you arsehole.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's so interesting because some cultures are matriarchal. Mm-hmm. And again, and older people are heralded. And yet in ours, we're just dismissed and
vilified in many cases. It's almost as though, how dare they? I remember Jerry Hall once being interviewed by Lorraine Kelly, and she'd said to Jerry, she went, "What is the thing that you hate about aging?" Because there'd been a documentary, and Yasmin Le Bon had said, "Giving up modelling is going to be really difficult because whether people think I'm attractive or not, I'm used to the attention." So when that goes, having been a woman that's validated on her looks, and then Jenny Hall said, the thing I find most offensive is reading how old I am in the newspaper. Because all too often it's in. But then Jenny Hall did have that fabulous line, be a cook in the kitchen and a cow in the bedroom. And I've always lived my life by that. Moo.
So proud of you.
Absolutely. I'll get my udders out for anyone, regardless of what age I'm at. Yes, well, Emma as well, because we've had the fabulous Emma Skeets on.
Yes.
So, yes.
She's mad as a batter. I love her. I'm a no filter. I love no filter.
No.
She is fantastic.
She's wonderful, absolutely. Yeah. But I think, as you say, no filter. Why are we chastised? I mean, obviously, there's certain things, we need to be mindful of in life. But I think, as far as being who we are, we should have a voice.
And I think exactly that, the no filter thing. But I mean, your actions are always, more important than the words you say. We've just done an interview with a friend of ours, and Bruce was rude from start to finish, but in a way that, but they're good friends, and your actions speak louder than your words. And you should be able to just say how you feel, not be walking on eggshells and tiptoeing around people. And, there's this also encompassing, consuming, being seen to say the right thing whilst actually being an absolute dick in the background. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely right.
Or just people that sort of put themselves forward as saying the right thing and doing the right thing. And then they're just not very pleasant.
No.
Let's not even start on politics, please.
Yes, my goodness, no. We're non-political. I mean, this is a woman that uses her own pocket as an ashtray. I mean...
I have a mini bin, Harriet. I'm trying to protect the planet. Thank you. Now, we also have another friend in common that I didn't realise was Katie Mulgrew, who's my little adopted child.
Yes.
And then she was like, how did you two meet? But how did you meet Katie?
We've done a workshop. But again, that's just the joy of this business. It's so multi-layered that we're all together, and I love that. I love that so much. It's so important.
I'm very interested, and I've picked your brains about this before, but obviously British Empire and an absolutely fab. What was working on things like that? What was it like? It must have been brilliant.
Well, I think... Jen and I we were friends since drama school. So we've been friends for 40 years. And again, working on AbFab, it was, again, something which was originating. It was given time to grow. And it was the most amazing thing because everyone just had the best time. Wonderful women, fabulous writing. It was amazing to do that kind of comedy for women also. It was just extraordinary. And I remember we were away with our kids on holiday, and my then husband.
We've all got a couple of them. My then husbands. and she said, "Oh, I've got this idea for a show, and this woman has a daughter." I said, "Well, I could be your daughter." She went, "No, not with those tits." I was like, "Yes, I could. I could strap them down." She was like, "No." I was okay. But we've been friends for 40 years. Whether we were doing Girls on Top together, French and Saunders. Been lucky enough to work with her all these years, and we're still. She's
absolutely loved Girls on Top, and I mean, honestly, I remember you in the French and Saunders. I know you've done so much. You've done theatre. You've been in musicals. I know you're talented, but hey, I'm a homo, and this is base level for me. Going back to AbFab, there are a couple of great lines. 3 best lines in it for me is: you only work in a shop, you can drop the attitude. But when you're in the meeting and you say 10 tips on tropical toenails, moist is my word du jour. I mean, quite frankly, I was creaming my knickers. But in the Christmas special of the Titanic, Harriet Thorpe gives us her beautifully sinkable Molly Brown. Oh my God! I have been so excited for this interview because, as you can tell, I'm not keen on you. So I had to do... I had to do a bit of research, but because the other great line in AbFab was, I'm cherished with a Y, personality-wise, I'm borderline shy wild. You can't replicate that. The writing was just tremendous.
Exactly. And that's the point. I mean, she wrote for characters evolved, created, and she wrote more and more for each character. Yeah. And because I pronounced my R's really...
Verse. I will have to call on my Revlon connections.
She would write more and more things with ours in. And Bristol, again, was a brand new show. Yes. And again, now people do take their kids to work day. You didn't do that then. No. So of course she had her in my kid in the fucking drawer. Of course I did. Yeah. It would make sense. She was surviving as a single mother, And again, that was... Again, you don't get these opportunities today. No. If a show doesn't get the ratings, it's gone.
Yes.
We grew, and we did it for 7 years. We had 13 million viewers, and all the characters evolved again. You don't get that opportunity, sadly, anymore.
And actually what tends to be happening is, I don't know so much with theatre and television, but certainly with comedy, people need to have their followers on Instagram or TikTok before they'll even be looked at to go on a panel show or whatever. So they're judging somebody on a couple of minutes of of average comedy, but it doesn't matter what they're doing as long as they've got the viewers. And you go, that's the wrong way round.
Well,
that's madness.
It's all wrong. But of course, I am on TikTok.
You're a TikTok.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm on TikTok.
even though the demographic's something like 11 to 15, she's there, dear.
But I watched you making your cream calcium dessert on TikTok with the ginger
Very
nuts.
important. Yeah.
And that feeds 8 for under a £5.
Yes, dear.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not only the career we're talking about. These are lifestyle tips, very valid in the cost of living crisis.
And also, I did Best Packed Lunch the other week, and I did a thing I'd also done on TikTok, which was a 1970s mock souffle, which is it's Wonderloaf, but you don't have that anymore. Whatever the most basic white bread you can get. Take the crusts off, butter 5 slices, cut them into squares, throw them in a bowl, 3 eggs, 3/4 of a pint of milk, a shitload of cheese, and let it sit overnight, and then it rises like a souffle, darling, the next day, and everyone thinks you spent hours, but you haven't.
Do you know what that's actually called? Strada, and it is a Norwegian Christmas morning dish that features in The Family Stone, which is a thing with Sarah Jessica Parker. So there you go.
You're a font of knowledge today.
My mum used to make it in the 70s, so that's where I know it from.
Well, because I remember watching Mary Berry and a friend of hers, they went back to the 70s and made these, it was like asparagus wrapped in aspic and all this kind of stuff and manky old bits of bread. No, it was...
Seriously,
yeah.
I got something like 120,000 views for a mock souffle.
Wow.
And then I did a salmon, a smoked, no, it was just a salmon mousse.
Oh.
I know, shocker, 1970s, but you know, who cares? Well, it's fabulous. It's fun.
Bring back the 70s. I was happy then.
Were you happy then?
It was all she was a bit beige then, wasn't she, darling, colour-wise? It was all a bit beige. But yeah, it was fun.
No,
I was just going to say, so what makes you, why were you happier in the 70s than you are today?
I think there was that. I mean, freedom, but in the wrong way. Do you know what I mean? You were in the backs of cars, or you were in cars, no seat belts, just running
being
around.
Smoked on.
Being smoked on. You were let out at whatever time in the morning, and nobody looked for you. You just ran about your barefoot, just doing your own thing.
Doing your own thing, exactly.
And there was that kind of slight village community. You know, somebody else's mother would take you and give you lunch, and you know, there was just a community much more now. I think everybody's very guarded and very suspicious and
I think it's because people steal.
Well, I don't think they did, though.
I think it is, Harriet. They come into your life to steal. It can be material. It can be material possessions. Thank you very much.
People steal from me emotionally.
Photo shoot wise, I'm looking at 2 weeks in the Caribbean. People just steal. They're bastards. Get them out your house.
Maybe I'm having a romantic remembrance, but you used to leave your doors open. I still leave my door open.
Well, I mean, that is a euphemism, isn't it? She is open for business. Now, you talk about a then husband. Is there a current husband?
No, darling, my bifolders are shut.
Oh, very wise. I think that's very wise. Are they treated for the sun?
Of course, dear. Everything's so.
Because we don't want tender burning.
No, heaven forfend. No.
So genuinely, are you just not interested in having a relationship with a man?
No, of course I am. Absolutely. But again, it's a journey. And when you have no hormones left, you don't care. And the idea of heaving about couldn't be more boring. And you realise all the decisions that you have made in your life is because of the fucking hormones. And actually, you're liberated from that. And of course, I would love to have a relationship and have somebody hold my hand, be there, have a laugh, do that stuff. But I don't have to be defined by it.
No, absolutely. But I am interested in the sex aspect. Are you not bothered about having sex or not? Is that what the hormones do? Because I'm past the menopause, but I still want a lot of horizontal refreshment, please.
Oh no, darling, I'm completely vertical. No, thank you.
No, are you done? Are you like a Louvre blind? Shut.
I'm facetious. Of course I would. But it doesn't drive me in the same way that it did when I had different hormones. Yeah.
No,
it's about friendship. But, it's not just about that.
But I think it is that. I think people get to it, and it's not an age thing. It's a stage of life thing that you get to a point where you're like, I've explored the horizontal refreshments. I've done the physical. It doesn't float my boat. However, a trot round the garden centre, a nice tasting menu, wine tasting, a bit of light chat in the house, fingering a magazine.
What you were going to say there, but thank you.
Licking a DVD, that kind of thing becomes more important.
I think that it's maybe just my stage of life because I've recently separated, so it's coming up for a couple of years.
Oh, it's a different thing then. I think if you've recently separated, it's a different thing.
I'm single for the first time since 1989, so I'm
Darling,
having a field day. Yeah.
Oh, good.
So,
well, power to you, darling.
And I don't know if it'll last particularly long. I think I might quite quickly get into that. Oh, can't be bothered. But, but yeah, no, it is that liberation. That so I'm 56. I think I've definitely either in or past the menopause, but no, very much interested.
But I think for a lot of people, and I'm talking about gay guys, I think a lot of gay guys who are over the age of 40, they still have hedonistic, very kind of orgy-tastic ways of living because that validates that.
Well, they've got their hormones left,
well,
darling.
Yeah, and it makes them feel young and purposeful, that they're going out for a bit of light bumming.
And fantastic. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's your vote. There's no judgment.
No.
I think it's just, I want to have a laugh and a friendship and share life. It's not about just having a shag.
No, you want someone to be able to predict your cheese requirements and how many cubes of ice you'd like in a gin and tonic.
Darling, are you interested in a marriage at all?
Yes, as long as it's lavender.
Standard.
As long as it's lavender. Honestly, I feel fondue hours will be a revelation.
There we go.
Absolutely. I think that's very well. But I can see why so many people over the years have gone into lavender relationships or whatever, because it is that companionship thing.
Yeah. Have a laugh. Hang out and have a laugh and do things that you enjoy rather than things that you have to do to be accepted or valid.
Yeah, because I watched a documentary about Princess Michael of Kent, and apparently it's alleged that both her and Prince Michael of Kent, it's very difficult, they're both called Michael. I mean, that must be tricky at Christmas. Hi, Michael, how are you? Oh, I'm tired, Michael, can you do one? But apparently, that they were together for the sake of appearances and they made their own arrangements elsewhere. And again, no judgment at all. If that's what works for you, that's absolutely fantastic.
That's quite common in royal circles, which is an oxymoron using the word common in royal circles.
Right.
But it is that kind of marriage of convenience or because of bloodlines to then be that marriage, but they do their own
certain
thing.
Cultures, people had lovers.
Yes.
In European cultures, it was
Yeah.
part of their culture. It was no judgment. It was just
It's just the way of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
The Greeks were very fond of.
Oh, the Greek
Everything.
men, they would rip out your bowels as soon as look at you.
Darling, all the way around a vase.
Well, absolutely. Scooping them out. Using them as display items. But no, they were a very physical people. Yeah.
There was a wonderful story, and I can't remember which god it is, but there was a Greek story of that humans were there were three types of humans. There were men, two men joined together, two women, and a man and a woman. And they moved around in cartwheels. And one day they upset the gods, or whichever god it was, and somebody will probably know. I don't, unfortunately, I can't remember. But the gods split all these people up, which is why everyone's looking for their partner. And that was their culture. Men, women, men and women.
That's
They had it
fascinating.
way before we did.
Absolutely. And wouldn't it just be
And that was
simple
their
if that
norm.
was just,
That was normal.
Yeah.
Exactly, because I think a lot of things could be simplified or they're overcomplicated, and it's to do with societal judgment, isn't it?
It's societal conditioning.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
Is it? Is it societal conditioning to
we're
wander around with a portable
Through
ashtray?
his...
I'm sorry, I can't let that go, Harriet.
not letting
When we move in together, we're not allowing her in. I'm sorry, love. Batten down those hatches. Now, I want to talk about the Wonderbirds.
Yes.
Yes, because you do that with Sherry. Is it Newson or Hewson?
It's Sherry Hewson, Dee Anderson, Debbie Arnold.
Debbie Arnold.
And we all kind of knew each other. And Debbie said, why don't we get on on a chat and see if we can come up with something, which was her idea to do a show. How can we do this? And as we discussed it, because Dee's parents obviously created Thunderbirds,
yes,
I came up with the name Wonderbirds, because that's an old-fashioned term for women anyway, old birds. And we thought, I thought Wonder was better than Thunder. So Wonderbirds it is. And we have done it for 2.5 years, and we've just been nominated for the, I think, best original, or shortlisted for best original online something or other. I'll have a look in a minute. So you can edit this bit, please. Thank you, Cora. Yes, it's been the most amazing 2.5 years, and it's wonderful because it's not censored like some programs are. It's not censored at all, so we can say what we feel, which again makes a huge difference than thinking, I can't. A bit like talking to you guys now. We can say how we feel and share the bad times and the good times, and be honest about life. And it isn't twee or, again, pigeonholing women of a certain age.
That is exactly that. This is what podcasts and things are great for, because, of course, terrestrial television, all that kind of things, and, Watershed, and it's about, reading the room and having your audience. But it is that, there's so many times I watch things on television, particularly live stand-up, and, people are doing it with one hand tied behind their back because they're not allowed the freedom to say what they actually want. So things like this podcast are so much better and much more, I think, better communication to people.
Do you think it is the case, though, using stand-up comedy as an example? I don't think they are with one hand behind their back. I think they know the deal. I think they are choosing to portray a very safe, sanitised version of themselves because they're looking for career progression.
But then it's disingenuous.
Well, it is disingenuous, but then that's
their
not...
true self.
Yeah, but that's not everyone's aim in which to be their true self. A lot of people's aim is to be successful at whatever cost.
Correct, but stand-up,
and that's up to them.
No, but stand-up, by its very nature, is one of the very few art forms that should be genuine, raw, truthful, without being disingenuous.
But why should it be that?
It is because I think it is more that than it is scripted, character-led. It's actually about the person, their views, their frustrations in life, their politics. And I think that's why it's important. I'm just going to give you the correct quote, if I may, Caller.
Please do.
We were nominated by the Broadcast Digital Awards.
Fabulous.
Say that again. Broadcast Digital Awards have nominated and now shortlisted us for the best original web channel.
Brava.
Very brava.
Getting back to stand-up. Stand-up is the essence of it is two fingers up at the world. And, that's the joy of it. It isn't so niche, really, as other things.
I personally feel that type of stand-up, and I totally get what you're saying, Harry, I think that's gone. I think because of the culture in which we live and the fact that everyone wants to be famous and successful and used again time and time again, that they're not then as raw as, say, as it was with Ben Elton, back in the 80s or whatever, because, he was a real kind of... he very tenacious, a protagonist. That's the word. Whereas now you don't see that as much because I think it's much more people take advice from an agent.
Do you think that everybody wants to be famous? Because that's dull.
But whether or not you think it's dull is irrelevant at the risk of sounding rude. That is the aim for a lot of people because they think they will have a better life. And a lot of that comes through wanting money. Which is something Harriet and I don't have, and that's why we're now living in a lavender. We're just living in a flower, just eating cheese and pork rinds.
I think it is hard. I think we want to be successful. I think people want to validate their journey and do the job that you love. And I think it is an odd thing to get clapped for a living because that is, the idea... on every level, that you want to, it is a moment of validation. And even if you're doing 8 shows a week, when you suddenly stop working, you're in free fall. And it's not that we're not defined with, we all do lots of different things and have lots of different people in our lives, but that drive to perform, you don't have a choice. It's how you're hardwired. It's in your DNA. And I remember, as I'm sure you do, doing endless, terrible Christmas shows for my parents, with my sister, and then our kids and my sister's kids, they all did it. And so, just background. I'm just being,
Was that Hollywood?
I'm underscoring. Yes, I'm so sorry. But endlessly, you want to perform because you're driven to it. It's not normal. We should all be probably put in a home.
Oh, no, we should be all psychologically assessed and found to be wanting, because it is that thing, the creative. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I could do anything else other than rubbish on stage.
But again, it's like any artist, and like I've said, through the history of time, we've already discussed Greek tragedies, but cave paintings and stand-up, and we have, from the beginning of time, man has needed the arts to reflect its crap society, to say, look at this, or look at this amazing thing that I've just made for my dinner, or if it's a cave painting or whatever. People have needed that. In Pompeii, there's old oh, God, darling, she's an old woman. What's the word when you write, people scrawl on buildings?
Hieroglyphics.
Hieroglyphics.
No, darling, it's far too cultured.
Graffiti.
Graffiti. In Pompeii, there is old graffiti that's on the fucking walls. Yeah. People have needed to express themselves always. Yeah. It doesn't change.
Fledgling Banksies.
Fledgling Banksies.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I mean, prisoners smear shit on walls. It's the same idea.
So do some people in an Airbnb situation.
This is true. On a stag night. Yeah.
Oh, that's misandry. It could be a hen night. How dare you?
Hen night. I do apologise.
It's just shocking, isn't it? What is next for you, Harriet? You've done so much. What drives you going forward other than the paycheck?
Well, obviously the paycheck.
Clearly.
But no, I'm doing a tour in the autumn of Stepping Out, which will be fun, where I'm playing an old lady who can't dance, but we'll let that go. I'm not bitter at all. And, it's whatever's next. I just say yes. I love working. And I have a company that my sister and I run together called Dr. Theatre, which is training people to do presentational training when they feel insecure in companies internationally. I teach at lots of drama schools. I love to just do what I know, and that's the deal. So I don't care what it is, I just say yes.
I love that attitude. Yeah, no, absolutely. But I'm exactly the same. I just say yes. I'm just like, keep putting one foot in front of the other, see what turns up. And sometimes you go, oh, I wish I hadn't said yes to that, but I've done it now.
Doesn't matter. And don't you find, even though we're going forward, you don't think, oh, what am I not doing now I'm older? You think, what's next? What is next? That's the deal.
At this age, and I think partly I don't think I'm because I've separated, but just getting to this age, I'm genuinely, I've got more energy now and more sort of fun and spontaneity. I've got the whole kind of risk thing. I'm just like, go for it. Whereas when you're bringing up kids and you're married and compromise and, taking everybody else into consideration, it's the first time in 30 years I haven't had to worry about anyone else. And so I'm not. And I'm certainly not worrying about me.
In the old days, if you were, I'm about almost 10 years older than you, but if we were then, they would say, oh, they're an old maid or they're past it. Now, we're not. It's, bring it on. Life.
I'm literally starting all over again. I'm loving it.
Yeah, exactly.
Loving it.
Well, do you know on your terms.
Yeah.
You're essentially stepping out, Jojo.
I am. It's exactly what I'm doing.
Oh, my goodness. Where is stepping out? Are you doing any Scottish dates?
No, not yet, darling. Hopefully in the new year.
All right, okay.
Out at the moment, but please God, they'll get us up there. Yeah.
Oh, Harriet, it has been.
For the wedding, obviously.
Well, clearly, I mean, there's the wedding to think
of course,
about.
I'll need to get a hat.
Well, or a fascinator.
Fascinator, darling.
You genuinely, they say they shouldn't meet your acting heroes, but I'm very, very glad I did. I have absolutely adored speaking to you. And hope to see you on the 14th of June.
Oh, yes,
with
we are
Emma,
in London.
Because we're at the Phoenix Arts Club. Come along.
Yes, please.
Gin and tonics. We'll get that prenup signed.
Yes, it's best. Yeah, exactly.
It's just I've got some antimacassars I don't want you taking if things don't work out.
I think you're safe. I can say you're safe with this. All yours.
Harriet, thank you so much. An absolute pleasure.
Oh, genuinely amazing. Thank you very much.
Had a wonderful time. It's wonderful to see you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. And have a lovely rest of the day, whatever the day may bring.
Copy that, caller.
Cheers, darling.
See you later. Bye.